So that happened just this past Monday. I dislocated my finger. If you're squeamish, look away now. If you're not, here it is. That's what it looked like in all its glory. Here's an X-ray. And let me tell you now, I have never felt pain so fierce in my entire life. I dislocated my finger fighting a extremely heavy and muscular Russian dude at Judo. And he went in for a turn throw, really, really perfectly timed turn throw. And I didn't have my fingers taped up. I normally have my fingers taped up. This time I didn't. I went to block his turn throw, crack, finger just bent all the way back, right out of its socket. And it was just, as you saw in the picture, at a massive angle. I completely freaked out. This is the first time I've ever had anything like this happen to me in all of my grappling years. I've been grappling since about 2018, doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Judo, and I've never had an injury like this. And Monday, it happened for the first time, and I freaked out. Immediately, I thought, Jesus, this is the start of my time off. You know, I've got a month off work, and I can't grapple. Like, I won't be able to grapple. So, out of the kindness of my training partner's heart, he drove me to the hospital. And here in the UK, we've got something called the NHS. I know that a lot of people overseas, especially in America, they're quite See, we like to describe the way the US feels about our NHS as jealousy, and I don't think that's the case. I just think that a lot of people in the US are quite keen to have a similar system, a national health service. So I went down to the hospital Monday evening after this happened. I was seen by a nurse and then a couple of doctors. They both tried to pop it out of its socket. Obviously, I tried at the dojo. I couldn't get it out. It was really, really stiff. It was like it was glued into place. But yeah, I had one of the doctors, literally just yanking as hard as he possibly could. Then another doctor tried her best, nothing. And they, I think they administered what's called a ring blocker. Basically, what they do is that they inject anesthetic here and into your palm. You can still see a little dot where they injected me. And that basically just numbs your entire finger. So it's a very, very painful injection. The one on the palm, oh my God. And they were mincing it around and everything, like twisting and turning and filling, and it was just horrible. So yeah, they numbed my finger, tried to pop it out, didn't work. Then they said, you're going to have to come back tomorrow to a different hospital, and they're going to have to do surgery. You're going to have to see a plastic surgeon. And obviously me being in extreme pain was thinking, I've never had surgery in my entire life. I'm old now and I've never had surgery, and the one time I do, it's through an extracurricular activity. So they kindly booked me an appointment, to this hospital for 9:30 in the morning the next day. They gave me some codeine. I've never had codeine ever. And as soon as I got home, I tried some and had no effect on me. It just made me have like lots of trapped wind, and quite severely constipated as well. One could say I'm full of she, and yeah, just tried to get an early night. Woke up the next day, got my anus down to the hospital for 9:30. I think I saw someone about an hour after I got there. They sent me upstairs, so they had a look at it. They took my blood pressure, etc. Sent me upstairs to a different waiting room, and I waited maybe 4 hours before I saw someone. And so the NHS is free, in case you didn't know. Well, I say it's not really free. You do pay for it out of your, out of taxes, etc. So every time you get paid, a portion of that goes towards the NHS. But I was in this waiting room, and there was a couple of people behind me. They must have been their late 20s, maybe. I think siblings. But a guy had done something to his hand, and he spent the entire time sat behind me just complaining, saying, "Oh, they better not make me wait until 3 o'clock. They don't, they're having a laugh if they think I'm going to wait here that long. I take my food really seriously. I'm going to go get some food." And I was thinking, like, mate, no one's got a gun to your head. Like, you're here because you're able to sort your hand out, by getting a doctor to have a look at it. Doctors are busy people. This hospital is full of patients. Maybe you should have a bit of patience and just wait around to, get your hand seen. It's not that hard, especially food. Like, God, there are people out there who can't even afford to have lunch, dinner, or even feed themselves once a day. And you're complaining about missing a meal because you don't want to wait until 3 o'clock. Absolutely ridiculous. But anyway, he didn't have to wait around much longer because shortly after one of the doctors came round, they said to me, "Okay, can you go over to this other waiting place?" Basically, you just get shuffled from room to room until you're eventually properly seen. And then as I was getting up, I heard the doctors say to this man, "We're really sorry, but we just don't have any capacity for you." To which I just imagined his face probably hitting the floor so hard it smashed through. But anyway, so I went to this new waiting area, and in it there was this elderly gentleman, and he was being told the risks that were involved in his operation. It sounded like, now I couldn't see him because there was a little curtain that they had drawn shortly after I went in the room. And they basically said, well, it sounded like he had like a hernia in his testicular area. And they said, this hernia's been there a while, and there are some complications. We're going to do our best to work around the testicle, but there is a good chance that it will need to be removed. And I was sat there thinking, God, I'm complaining about my little fucking finger, right? And there's this guy sat across the hall from me. I say the hall, the room from me, and he's being told he's going to lose his ball. Like, that ain't cricket. That's devastating news. I mean, yeah, fair enough. He's like, he was in his late 70s, 80s. He was getting on. But no one wants to lose their ball, even if they're not going to use them. I'm sure that when I'm 80, even if, my ding-dong is coughing semen, like, I'd still want everything there. You know what I mean? But anyway, so I got dressed into my sort of surgical gown, the one with no back. I was just given this basically apron with sleeves, and they just assumed I knew how to put it on. I had no idea. The only time I've ever seen anyone put this thing on is in an episode of Mr. Bean where you can see like his bare bottom. But anyway, went to the toilet, put this gown on. They give you these like really weird socks that are really sort of stiff. And then the doctor just gave it one more go. She injected me again, but with stronger anesthetic. She gave it another go, and then she said, "Yeah, this has to be operated on." So they laid me down on the table, had my arm out like this, and I could see everything, but I chose not to because I do not want to see people slicing my finger up, slicing it open and revealing bone. I'm not about that life. But I could feel absolutely everything that they were doing. There was just no pain. I could feel them scraping my bone. I could feel them flicking tendons, doing all sorts, stitching, like threading through my skin. And it was definitely an experience. And to be honest, I didn't feel any pain whatsoever, to the point I could actually fall asleep. I almost nodded off. It was that painless. But there were a few points during the operation where I thought, what if they can't fix this? What if whatever it is that's in my finger that's happened, they can't undo, and I'm just stuck with this finger that's quite literally at 45-degree angle. That caused a slight panic Because I'm not going to lie, I didn't really trust the doctors, because you get to a point in life where you kind of realize everyone's just a person, and they've gone through some kind of educational system, they've learned a few things, but it doesn't mean that they are highly proficient, or proficient in a way that lives up to one's expectations, because they are just people, and people, you know, are infallible. So that did induce some panic, but I just held on, I kept trucking, and just submitted myself to this procedure, and thankfully it worked out for the best. Now, I don't know if I've already shown you images of what it looks like now, but if I haven't, that's my finger. I was naughty and took off the dressing. I don't know if I was supposed to take the dressing off or not, but there it is. It's quite a large incision. I don't know how long it's going to take to heal. As far as mobility goes, that's about as far as I can bend my finger. So not that far at all. Obviously, I want to go back to judo and jiu-jitsu as soon as possible, so I'm thinking about how I can keep this protected, because obviously the mats are just full of bacteria, and I get infected very, very easily, and I can't risk that happening to this finger. So I don't know if I'm going to train with a plastic bag over my hand. Quite tempted to. It's going to look ridiculous, but you know, needs must, and all that jizzy jazz. But yeah, so anyway, not exactly a tech video. This is not a tech channel. So if you're, you know, returning and you were expecting me to go on about my MacBook, sorry, that's, yeah, although I will say it is living up to the hype. That's all I can say about that. Been running Unity on it, took it out, didn't even need to charge it, running Unity, running Photoshop, all of the you know, the works, and it's been performing so nicely. Also, not to go on a tangent, but on this Razer machine, you know, switching back and forth between Unity and Visual Studio, you know, you get that compilation time where it sort of needs a minute to kind of like, you know, recompile. On that Mac, it's like you're waiting 2-3 seconds. Incredible. But yeah, so that's my story of dislocating my little finger, getting surgery on it, and I would be curious to know if you have ever dislocated anything, or had any kind of surgical procedure, or maybe you've just dislocated your little finger and are panicking. If you have dislocated your finger, all I can say to you, and this is not medical advice or whatever, this is just information, you should probably get it seen by a doctor very, very quickly, because the longer you leave it, the worse it will get. So always just seek medical attention from a professional, not a YouTuber, obviously. Yeah, it's Friday. Have yourselves a good Friday, and yeah, see you in the next one. Bye!